Welcome to the Aid Station. I'm Chris Robb and hugely excited today to be traveling to Beirut, Lebanon to meet Wissam Terro, who is the race director of the Beirut Marathon. And in fact, absolutely delighted to have you here. And we're going to learn not the best day in the history of the Beirut Marathon today. Welcome, Wissam. Great to really appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, hi Chris, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you were saying just before we started recording that today, unfortunately, you've had to close the doors for the time being of the Beirut Marathon, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the interview. But I'd love to start with just hearing a little bit of your backstory. What's got you to where you are in an amazing role of an event with 48,000 people, which you'll talk about a bit later as well.
I appreciate your kind words. I'm from Lebanon, and I graduated from high school in 1998. Sports has always been part of me and my life. And I used to practice running with close friends and a good football player as well. And I had this dream to become a physical educational teacher. And when I was processing the application, I was offered financial aid to study in Tunisia, and so did happen. I moved to Tunisia, where I finished my bachelor degree in business computer. And I returned back to Lebanon in 2003 to work as a school instructor. Then I worked as a procurement and cost controller at a luxurious beach and got to know my general manager, who moved later in 2006 to be assigned as a general manager for Beirut Marathon Association, founded by Mrs. Mail Khalil. In April 2006, I started my journey with Beirut Marathon as procurement manager. And from the first moment, I loved helping my colleagues and being with them on the ground. I still remember the first event was a half marathon in south of Lebanon in a city called Tyre. That was my first time I participating in organizing team, and I did some implementation by distributing water along the course for refreshment stations. After being a part of organizing committee of the half marathon, I was inspired to run a marathon. And I did train and run my first marathon in 2007. Then I participated in 2 other marathons and many mid and short distance races. By time, I became the race director of Beirut Marathon Association. In 2015, I got married, and I currently have 2 adorable kids. One that is 3.5 years old, and the other one is 4 months.
Wow, that's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing it. Wow, what a beautiful story, and to have 2 beautiful children. That's absolutely fantastic. And so during those periods, you've obviously experienced some challenges. You know, life in Lebanon for many years has been challenging, and you were telling me in these days, you know, whilst much of the world is grappling with COVID-19, the COVID problem is not super huge, albeit that it is present in Lebanon, but there's massive issues in terms of, you know, the economy and the stability of the country from a financial perspective. And, you know, you were saying that so many other countries who were allies and supporters of Lebanon are now distracted with dealing with their COVID situation. I'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, life in Lebanon on a day-to-day basis at the moment, please.
What I want to say that the situation in Lebanon is different from any country in the world, because we are facing economic and political problems since 2005. After the assassination of ex-Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. And since then, we are struggling. In July 2006, Israeli destroyed the whole country, buildings, highways, bridges, electricity factories, company, everything. And in 2008 also, the country started a big demonstration by opposite parties for around 1 year and a half. And they go on the street and they block most of the street. And we have, as Beirut Marathon, to change the course 48 hours before our big event, because the demonstration was started 2 days before the event.
Wow.
Even in 2015, Lebanese people started to protest in downtown of Beirut also, against all political parties in Lebanon. And on race day, some of protesters took our street to deliver their messages through Beirut Marathon. And we tried back then to discuss with them and actually delivered a good race at the end. Most important, that 2019, beginning of 2019, we organized the 6th editions of women's race in the port of Beirut, inside the port of Beirut, which was one of the most successful race I ever organized. We have been really facing so many challenges, but we kept delivering amazing event for Lebanese and international runners. October 17, 2019, 3 weeks before our biggest sports event, Blanc Bank Beirut Marathon in Lebanon and Middle East, Lebanese people decided to go on the street, protest against all political parties and the regime. It was very difficult situation for us, and definitely a lot more challenging than any problem we faced before. It was the first time we couldn't organize the event and ended up deciding to postpone the event for further notice, because we were not sure when the situation will go back to the normal. When we did that, we created an important communication strategy to inform all stakeholders, sponsors, donors, runners, volunteers, media, official authorities, etc., to keep them in the loop, and especially the refund process for all participants.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge one at the moment, the whole refund process, isn't it? Which is being struggled with all over the world. And, you know, yours obviously for a different reason to what many are. But, you know, every day barely goes by without someone having a, you know, we've given a refund, we've given a part refund. In some countries, the participants are tolerant. In other countries, they're not. What was the response from the participants? Were you able to refund the entries, or?
By the way, we have different response from all our participants. Some of them, they said they will kept it as donation for Beirut Marathon, which was really inspiring us. Some of them, they said, we will keep the registration form, registration money for the next event. Some of them, they decide to return back their money. But really, as you said, Chris, it's very difficult to manage all these answers and send back the money to our participants. And especially Beirut, Lebanon today is facing a big crisis related to economic and so on. Yeah. So our lovely country today is passing in a critical situation in different aspects, really. And the most significant one is economic, currency, and financial crisis that the country is facing. The prices had gone up for around 3 times than that before October 17. Due to previous reasons, and after a long discussion with BMA team, we decide to as Beirut Marathon Association, to suspend all our activities until further notice, due to crisis caused by combined effects. You have the economic crisis followed by Corona pandemic. So as Beirut Marathon, we decide today to stop all our activities until further notice to go back to our country, go back to normal. Then we will go back to organize our event and have all the Lebanese people together and run together again.
And that's so sad for an event. And, you know, Mrs. May Al-Khalid is well known. I mean, she's got a TED talk that millions of people have watched of the role of the Beirut Marathon creating peace in Beirut. I think you said 18 different religions coming together on one particular day, going, you know, across the whole city. It's so sad. What does it mean? I mean, obviously it means, you know, something really tough for the people that are participating in the marathon, but from a team, you said you closed the doors. What is the team? How many staff are now without work, and what impact is, or how are you managing that as a leader? And I'm sure you mentioned that that May is in, I think you said, Nigeria, and you communicate remotely, but obviously some tough leadership decisions having to be made. And in these times across the world, we're seeing leaders really stand out and leaders that are falling over and not making great decisions. What are some of the toughest leadership decisions you've had to make, and how have you been guided in that situation, Wissam?
Really, it was a difficult decision in our life because we have around 28 employees.
28 employees, yeah. Wow.
Permanent employees working at the Beirut Marathon. We are 6 departments.
Yeah,
we have different 6 departments. We are one of the biggest association in the Middle East and North Africa. We have we are accredited from IWF as silver label. Yes. Since 2011. We are all Lebanese. Let me say this: all the staff are originally Lebanese. And we are proud that we are, as Lebanese, organizing this such an event, because in all the region, most of the race director and the team, they are from abroad. They are coming to help the local team to organize their event. If you take Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, Abu Dhabi, marathon, all the marathon all around us, they are from abroad. They are coming to help the local team to organize the event. But here in Lebanon, we are all Lebanese originally organized this successful event. Wow. It's very difficult for the president, the founder of the Beirut Marathon, President May Khalil, to decide and close our doors. After 17 years of thousands of organizing races in Lebanon, in every city, every small villages, helping them to organize small races, schools, NGOs, companies. We help all the Lebanese community to organize event in our country. Closing doors, it was really the hard decision was taken, because we have 28 employees are sitting at home today. But I want to say something, that in Lebanon today, we have thousands of companies are closing their doors because of the economic situation. Hotels, big hotels are closed today. Many companies, big companies, consultant for construction. We have 2 big companies in the world doing consultancy for construction. They are sending employees to sit at home. We are, I want to say, it's similar situation. Maybe 10 or 12 years was in Greece and Cyprus, when they have this economic problem they were facing, and they have capital control on all their money. They cannot withdraw money from ATM. We are facing all of this. Even the government, they are trying to support the poor people by protecting the fuel for all the people, by keeping the price the same, and even the medics, I mean the drugs for the people who needs drugs and so on. So this is the situation in Lebanon today.
Wow,
Yeah.
so I'm so sorry to hear that, and it must be heartbreaking after all the efforts that you've put in, and let's hope that you know there's an opportunity that it doesn't last for too long, and this massive impact that you've had on the community will be able to come back. It's been you know quite somber listening, but obviously there's an inspirational element to this marathon, and I love to end the aid station with an inspiring story, if you will. And I'm sure you've seen so many. I mean, the broader picture is inspirational, just what's been created. But is there any particular story that keeps you inspired at this particular time that might inspire the listeners who or the viewers that are watching the aid station, please, Wissam?
First of all, I'm truly inspired from a very special person on both personal and business level, Mrs. May Khalil.
Mm-hmm.
She is very passionate and dedicated to spread running culture in Lebanon, despite all challenges and struggles that she faces. One thing I love the most is the way that Mrs. May always pushes us to come up with a new idea and be creative in order to deliver the best we can to our Lebanese community. And also another inspiration come up in this last month is that our Lebanese runners, I would love to mention runners' reaction when they heard that Beirut Marathon has suspended all its activities, because that was truly touching. They expressed their feeling towards Beirut Marathon and how Beirut Marathon changed their lives and changed most Lebanese people's attitude towards running. All of those comments were very inspiring to me, especially when I go back to organize the race and hopefully in better Lebanon in the future.
Wow, I admire your passion and you know a great smile on your face, and I guess if nothing else, this gives you some time to spend with your beautiful children. Enjoy that time, and from afar, I wish you and Mrs. May Khalil all the very best. I hope that it's not too long before things will settle down in Lebanon, and that this incredible marathon that's impacted, and you know it gets heard about. I've heard about it for many years. You know, it's got a reputation around the world, and I hope you're back on the road soon. But thank you so much for making time. It's been wonderful to meet you, and hopefully we'll get to meet in person one day.
Thank you so much, Chris. It was a pleasure for me to meet you on the Zoom today, and for sure we will meet in the near future in the conference of AIMS, maybe an IWF conferences in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you, Wissam. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.